Okay. All right. I just got a weird message from StreamYard. I don't know. But what's going on, everybody? Back at it once again. It is the incredible four-man team. Drew Stevens, Joshua M. Hicks, Chris Pennant joining us once again. The runners. We are running with WARR and giving you a little bit of a taste of the show as we prepare for the NBA Finals. The just about an hour from now, hour plus, the Bucks and Suns will be going at it. Game one of a pretty unpredictable end to an unpredictable season that this NBA, campaign has provided us. We campaigning and champagning. With campaign, he may be in the run for an MVP. You know, he's had some good performances this player. Maybe a Finals MVP. You know, it's not completely out of the realm of possibility there, man. But a lot there. There's some former Bull presence in this series, man. Bobby Portis likely will be starting.
Bo Pole.
Yeah. I mean, there's some. I think some other stuff too I have to think about, but I want to shout out. This guy's in the former Bull, but I want to shout out Torrey Craig, who he's played the game. If anybody's played the game right, it's been him, because he already has a ring without playing before the series even has gone on. He has a ring because he's played on both the Suns and the Bucks this year. So I mean, that's really, yeah, it's true. You can look it up.
That's crazy.
But that, yeah, it's a technicality, but it's a hell of a technicality. But he's already earned a ring without playing in the finals. So, that's a big up to that man. He's playing the game right, like I said. And we're gonna talk, like I said, we're gonna talk about him and all the other competitors. We also gonna talk about some people who are playing the game a little bit dangerously on the broadcast side. Of course, you should know, if you're involved with the NBA at all and follow the NBA, you should know what I'm talking about. It's like ESPN really is begging us to watch this series, and just maybe for the sake of some drama off the court as well as on the court. But I don't know. I guess they're sort of squashed it at this point because they've had one Rachel Nichols. They banned her from the arenas, so there won't be any cat fighting between her and Maria Taylor in the backs, in either the arenas in Milwaukee or Phoenix. But I don't know. We'll break that down in a minute. But it's kind of, like I say, it's kind of there's a lot that goes into that. But I don't know. Just starting off, guys. It's been a minute since we've all been together. What's things been going like for y'all? And what's been on your minds in regard to the whatever the league or this finals? What's been sort of catching you guys' interest?
That's a good question.
Oh gosh, I mean, for me, it's just been, being alive. Had a great holiday.
None of all your fingers are still on point and everything.
Yes, sir. My all 10 are still here, alive and well. I've had a good holiday, and got to spend some time with some family, and just for the most part, I guess I'm in this grateful mode. I'm just thinking about life in general. I'm grateful to be on here with you guys, and and just being appreciative for the things you have in this world, because it could be worse, right? So with everything going on, so just been in appreciative mode lately, counting my blessings, and taking advantage of moments like these where you can come on with the guys and talk that real talk, and which is what we do. And of course, I'm happy from a basketball perspective, CP3, super happy for him. I want him to grab this title. At the same time, this is why we love the NBA, right? Because it's unprecedented stories that come up at any given time. Not just on the court, but off the court too, including the ESPN broadcast, right? So you gotta love the NBA, what it brings to the table on and off the court. And we haven't even touched on the fact that the Olympics is about to start with Team USA and the lineup they got over there, which is very, very interesting. So there's a lot to talk about. But overall, I've just been pretty grateful and thankful for the opportunities that are presented to you, and take advantage of them while you can.
No doubt. Kyle froze.
Yeah, I think Kyle just froze.
I'm thankful that I've been having a solid internet connection the last few months. No smoke there, honestly. That was a problem at times. So, man, it's the weather. So this was really it. It's the weather and having been able to get back, I guess, into the groove of things like I am now. Back on with doing the skyhook with James for the first time in a couple weeks at least. Going to the Sky game on Saturday, going to any number of White Sox games. So being able to go back out, do these things. I'm definitely going to Monday Night Raw in August for the first time ever. So that I mean, depending on what the product is looking like now, it could be cool. It could be, kind of like, but it's you see pro wrestling live is always something. It's gonna have something for you. So.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm just, happy I was able to see my mom and brother-in-law, my sister, my niece and nephew. But also at the same time, I'm kind of like in a point where I need to be more forward thinking. I think throughout my 38 years on this planet, man, I haven't really been one of those guys or people who does a good job of like looking ahead too much in terms of planning, which is weird because I'm an anxious dude. Like I'm always worried about the next moment. But in terms of planning, I haven't really done the best with that. So just kind of getting myself out of that box, whether it be personally or whatever it may be, finances. And also just looking at the landscape of sports and what it is I like to write about in comparison to what kind of is being consumed the most. Just trying to find some kind of the middle ground. I'm not a deeply analytical dude or X's and O type dude, and a lot of the coverage nowadays seems to be veering toward that. Not that the writing is lacking, but it's different. It's different now, So just trying to navigate that a little bit. Side note, I know we're talking about hoops, but I'm still tripping on the Cubs, man. I still can't believe these
boys is trash.
Man, I can't believe that game, man. What was it, the first game against? Was it the Brewers? Arrieta was pitching, and
they had 7 runs in the top half of the first and then lost.
Yeah, I'm still tripping on that, man.
Trash.
And of course, the Sox just injuries, man, after injury after injury.
I swear. Oh my God.
So I'm glad you guys are still talking because
we picked up for you, man. We got you.
My signal is shit, but I come in and it's kind of like Drew is talking at an AA meeting. Now you're gonna talk about the Cubs or the Sox. I don't think I could give a damn about either one of them right now. But anyway, Chris, you got anything before we get to these?
Like I said, thankful for the ability to go out and do these things that I had not wanted to do or hadn't done or hadn't taken the time to do. I'm gonna go see Monday Night Raw in August, like I said. Going to the Sky game on Saturday since they've had fans back now at full capacity. Gone to any number of White Sox games, and I mean, just it's nice. It's nice to be able to have the chance to do that.
I like you bring up the Sky right quick. They're supposed to be 26 is having like a special on them before that game Saturday. I think.
Okay.
Before, so I think it's supposed to like cover a lot of their off the court pursuits and community based pursuits and stuff as well. So, so I would check that out. But that's how many games do they have before that break? That's gonna be
Saturday is the last one.
Okay. See, I was thinking about maybe going there too, but I don't, because after that they won't be playing until like mid-August, right?
Right.
The Olympics, so yeah, that'll be a game to catch. Definitely, whether you're on TV, checking on TV, or actually going down to the stadium. So, but what do you think about right quick? What do you think about how they? Because like I said, it's been a couple weeks at least since you've been on. What do you think about how they've lost a couple times, but they're still they're sort of, I don't know. Do you think they're where they need to be right now?
Not quite yet, but it's weird because the WNBA is uneven.
Yeah, it's not too many teams who are breaking through outside of.
It's Las Vegas and Seattle, they're absolute cream of the crop. But even in seasons past, you would see the teams that are in the middle, and that middle would be like 8 or 9 or sometimes 10 teams, like maybe this year, could beat each other on any given night, whether they had 3 people injured or a full team. Like Phoenix was looking really, really good, and they got smashed to bits at their house on Sunday or Saturday. I think this past weekend, like they got beat by a lot. And Vegas and Seattle have just been battling it out. The Sky lost a couple games to Connecticut and then to Dallas. And Dallas is just another team that can come in and beat you one night, and then they'll look real mid the next night. What I talked to James about when we recorded on yesterday afternoon is that it bothers me that the Sky couldn't win without Candace Parker before she was back. They had a couple close games, but they couldn't finish.
Yeah.
Or they couldn't close. They had a lead in at least there were 4 games they lost by single digits before she came back. They had the lead in at least one of those games, maybe 2. And they couldn't take it home. And that's bothersome because those are games previously that they could have won. Granted, Cheyenne Parker's not there anymore. And that's a big piece to lose when you don't have Candace Parker, but you worry that they're just a one-person show. They're not, but that's the easy correlation to make. And it's still kind of like, I would like to see them win a game where Candace wasn't playing or was resting or was out, something like that, because they've got Kalia Copper in her first All-Star appearance. Mm-hmm. Courtney Vandersloot is looking like Courtney Vandersloot as well. Yeah, Kalia, she deserves that, man. And then Allie Quigley is playing solid for it to be her, I think, 13th, 14th season? She came in 08, so this is either 13 or 14. But they need to – there's a couple things they need to improve upon if they do want to challenge for a title, because the whole thing about getting Candace Parker was challenging for a title. And right now there's 2 teams that are title contenders, and everybody else is fighting out for that spot to either make noise or get beat in the first, second, or third round. So the Sky, one of those teams right now, they got to level up.
So I was about to ask, do you think that they need more talent? Because surprisingly, there is a player like a Candace Dupree who's out there.
I was wondering about that myself. And the way that the season's going, they could, keep signing her on 7 days and 7 days and 7 days. I think she would command at least the veterans minimum salary under the cap since she's been in the league for so long. So I don't know how they would work that out. It will be interesting because it's, I'm not sure where she would be able to fit in with the players they have on the roster, even with the Olympics coming up.
Mm.
But I mean, the whole thing is everybody's on the Olympic break, so it's not like earlier in the season where they would have players out and still would have to play.
Right. But one thing, right quick, we talked about I mentioned this on the last show about the All-Star format, and I sort of messed it up. I think I had it was like a straight up USA versus world thing, but it's the USA team, the people who made the team, and a bunch of people who didn't make the team. So you got USA girls. Actually, I think all three of the Sky players are on the other team.
Yeah, the All-Star team.
Yeah, the All-Star team, who isn't on the Olympic team, and that includes Candace Parker. I know there was some rumbling about who should have been on and who, what. I don't know if you got any thoughts on that, Chris. You could feel free to interject, but I know Kalia, Candace definitely isn't on team. Kalia isn't on team, and Vanderson isn't either. So, but they're those girls, all stars, of course. WNBA definitely definitely worthy of the All-Star, but they're not on that Olympic team. So it's like, I don't know if it's a little shade to go with the honor or what. I don't know.
Everybody was talking about Nneka Ogwumike in Los Angeles, that she should have made it.
Yeah,
and she's only played 5 games, but 16, 7, and 2. With that was 2 blocks. They're shooting 59%, 80 from the free throw line. You can argue against it, but if she was out because of James told me that somebody was telling him that Candace Parker shouldn't have made the All-Star team either, and because she was out for those 2 or 3 weeks. And he said,
I think her impact on the Sky underscores.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah.
But then he argues what about players who were out for other commitments like Jonquel Jones? Should they not have made it? And there's no way you leave out Jonquel Jones. Same way you don't leave out Candace Parker. So Nneka, I think, might have fallen victim to some BS, considering that there are other people who missed time who definitively made it. And I mean, she's, if nothing else, she's a great player in the league who is also one of its main faces. So from a marketing standpoint, it's kind of unwise to leave that person out.
Yeah. And it seems like, to me, the reason, well, I guess that's an issue with USA Basketball, but the league, it seems like they're utilizing the time of being in the Olympic year by doing this format. So I think that's sort of, kind of clever thinking. But I don't know, maybe it'll create some sort of, on court thing where the competition will be a little bit I'm going to prove myself. I'm going to use this platform to prove myself as a player, to show that I am worthy of that honor as well, or that placement, even though I didn't get it this year. Who knows?
Well, the way the people talking about how Team USA is political on everything, which we've seen play out in different sports.
Yeah,
you never know. I don't know. I'll get to it later, but there were so many insinuations thrown around about why people didn't make it this year, that year, the other, with no real explanation, that I'm just going to assume that there's people who would deserve to make it for their whole careers who wouldn't. So People out there, if you want to actually talk, you know, the DMs are always open. Say what you got to say instead of just putting up Kermit T emojis.
Yeah, you got to watch what you say on all.
Shit.
On all.
I'm sorry, Kyle. That was rude. Keep going, man. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm just saying. I think one thing we've learned this week is that through all transmissions, you know, you never know, you know, how your shit will get out there. You know, your words and what you stand by, what you really are about, can get out there in different ways. So I'm using that to get into the whole ESPN controversy, kerfluffle, as some may use, you know, fancy word, you know. But well, we got. I'm gonna give this one about. We got about 18 minutes to the bottom of the hour. I think that's about as long as I'll go as I'll allow to go into it. We got to get to the real stuff after that with the game. But I don't know. It's a wild story. It releases on the 4th of July on the holiday, and it's all that anyone could talk about leading up to this finals, which is, you know, for whatever reason, could be overlooked. In the finals itself could be overlooked in a lot of ways because it's not. There's no LeBron and there's no Steph Curry and whatever in these finals, but you know, ESPN, ironically, who's covering this series and providing this series with its choice of talent and who it chooses to uphold and who is protecting, who's not protecting. You know, there's a lot. Like I said, there's a lot that goes into this: media politics, racial politics, gender politics, corporate malfeasance. So, like, there's a lot of crazy stuff that goes into this, and people project. You know, people have deciphered this stuff the way in many different ways through their own experiences and through things that they've seen others, experience. I don't know. I may get into some of that myself, but I'll just let you guys go. Like, what when you heard about this story, you know, how did you take it in? What were your first thoughts that come to mind? And then, you know, given a couple of days now and some of these developments that have occurred, you know, like I said, we do know that Rachel Nichols is not going to be involved in the on-site, I should say, finals coverage. She's still going to be hosting The Jump, which is a show that she pretty much developed at ESPN. But, you know, she's going to be hosting that, but she's not going to be involved in any, you know, like I say, on-court stuff, sidelines, and all that stuff. And Maria Taylor, like she did last year, which is where this all started, her getting that bid last year to host the pre and post game stuff for the finals for ESPN and ABC, as an ascendant talent as she's become. Part of her thing, you know, sort of undercut certain plans and expectations that Rachel Nichols has had. So, you know, I don't know. You guys want to just let it out? You know, what are your thoughts on this?
Just disappointed, man. Just disappointed the way that you know, Rachel Nichols kind of, you know, her insecurities coming out, undercutting Maria Taylor's work and all the things that she's done throughout her career, and the fact that she's deserving of the opportunities that have been presented to her. You know, to kind of couch that as you know, if you want to give her more responsibilities because you feel like, you know, you got a crappy reputation, like, you know, that's lame, man. It really is lame. One part that's not getting as much attention is the part in the New York Times piece where the gentleman she was speaking to, Mendelsohn, mentioned that between the Me Too movement and Black Lives Matter, that he was exhausted. You know, that in and of itself, being that this guy works with LeBron and Rich Paul and was involved.
He's supposed to be one of the heads of the More Than a Vote campaign.
Yes, I was just about to say that. Yeah, you know, that's even more disappointing. And then to hear Rachel Nichols laugh at that comment, it's like, what are we doing, man? You know, it's disappointing, but then it's even more disappointing that it's not even a surprise. You know what I'm saying? Nobody was floored by these, you know, this story that came out. It's more of a reminder of why it's important that we change the narrative in this world, not just sports. So it's just ugly situation, man. The fact that this happened a year ago and it's just coming out now is kind of weird. You know, I wonder if Maria Taylor is even going to want to kind of negotiate a new deal with ESPN. I think she was trying to.
Well, as I think as of maybe even tonight, her deal has lapsed, and so she's reached past the point of negotiation now with ESPN, and she's gonna do this work pretty much. I'll forget the term exactly. But she's gonna be doing this work, you know, under the table, as it were. You know, and she's gonna after this. She's her responsibilities ESPN are done after these finals, and the you know, I like I said, I'll speak a little bit, but as far as what I think is going to play out from this, but you know, yeah, it is very convenient that this comes out at this point. There was also, a New York Post article that ran last week that sort of was a forerunner to this, and it was explaining about her. The media writer at the Post, sports media writer, was talking about Taylor and ESPN having issues because she wants "quote unquote" Stephen A. Smith money. So I think a lot of people look at that article and thinking that maybe someone from ESPN leaked certain things to that reporter, and in an effort to formulate a certain portrayal of Taylor before these negotiations came to their conclusion. So
that's wild to me because anybody who trusts the New York Post is silly.
Good point.
Well, yeah, they're definitely slanted. I could say in certain ways, and I think a reporter like I've heard. I know a little bit about the reporter who wrote Andrew Marchand, but I think reporters such as him
know that, man,
are probably they're more inclined to present the point of view of the worldwide leader than one of their put upon and underappreciated talents. You know, the point of view that we get so often from issues like this is really, like I say, formulated to benefit those in charge and not necessarily those who are being done wrong and who really lack the power and the resources to have a story come out and to even tell the truth, let alone frame a story and for their benefit.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that stand out between all of this is if you actually do research behind listening people that former Black people, man or woman, that actually worked at ESPN, listen to their scenarios, listen to what they say they experienced at ESPN, and it's all similar. It's a power struggle.
I think, right quick, John, I think I'm going to try to edit some audio from a couple videos that I saw. Mm-hmm. I said one I shared with you guys. And you can see, I recommend anybody listening and watching this to watch these videos. But it's one in particular from Dan Le Batard's crew. And the great thing about Le Batard and them is that they've all experienced all these type of things. They're all ex-ESPN people, mm-hmm. and they're now have their own company. Le Batard's his own company now, so he can say whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah.
And the people he puts on can say whatever the hell they want. So it was a great discussion, primarily between him, Jamel Hill, who we know always keeps it real, and Amina Hassan.
Yeah.
Who, he brought a little bit different perspective, sort of an in-between perspective that I appreciated as well. But there's that, and there's also from the Black News Channel, they had a segment with Mike Hill, and he was keeping it real too on that segment about some things and his experiences. And Mike Hill says straight up, like, anybody who's Black who's ever worked there has dealt with some bullshit. And it's easy to believe. I've known people who worked there. I've known people who've been on TV there and stuff, and I've heard of stories. And it's like, people got to remember, man, ESPN is not just a playground, and it's for so many, it's a final destination. It seems like. And to be real, like, if ESPN offered me a job today, I'd probably take it. But at the same time, I would be knowledgeable of the BS that goes along with being there as well, that potentially can be involved with that, especially if you get on television there, because there's a certain way that they want to manipulate you and really control your persona, your public persona, and your just the way that you express yourself as a person. And that's something that goes different. It really is at odds with the way that many Black I guess somebody else coming in here for some reason. I don't know why, but the way that many Black journalists want to be handled in general, and especially nowadays, people want to be dealt with in a different way than what ESPN is portraying, and what they allow for their talents. And they gotta change some things in a way, deeply change some ways that they deal with their black workers, their female workers, and there's got to be less of a pitting against each other, and more of a real commitment to progression and to propelling and God, this thing is really messing me up. Propelling and enhancing voices from other points of view instead of what they've typically offered throughout the years. Anyway, you feel free to jump in, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an important thing to highlight about this as well, is even though this is the big component of ESPN, TV does run a lot of that when it comes to notoriety. When you talk about ESPN, it's a different culture from what I've been told than the actual journalistic perspective, the writing perspectives of things. The people I've talked to a couple of people that I'm sure you guys know, and I've been privy to know that do writing at ESPN. They say it's a completely different culture when you talk about the TV side of things versus the writing. More specifically, within the writing, especially at like the Undefeated versus what ESPN and the TV culture now. And in some ways, they're trying to incorporate both into one, which is, can be a little toxic depending on what on who's in control of things. But the fact that there's two completely separate, different cultures in a big company like that, especially when you're talking about different mediums that are being represented, that's something that's very interesting. And even though it's not it's common. And the fact, but it's also something you have to admit, be cognizant of as well, because the people that talk about these things, when you talk about the Jamil Hills and Amin Assads and Mike Hills, they all came from that TV side. So, but it's also something you have to admit, be cognizant of as well, because the people that talk about these things, when you talk about the Jamil Hills and Amin Assads and Mike Hills, they all came from that TV side. So, but it's also something you have to admit, be cognizant of as well, because the people that talk about these things, when you talk about the Jamil Hills and Amin Assads and Mike Hills, they all came from that TV side. So even though
they spent time there. Jamel came up as a she came up on the digital side. She came up, as a newspaper writer.
Mhm.
right.
Was on ESPN.com, and then she started getting on TV. And me, of course, has his background in in front offices in NBA actually. Then they started bringing them in as a contributor. But Mike Hill took me. But yeah, I get what you're saying though, Josh. It's definitely it's like ESPN deserves credit and throughout the years because they've done more than any other network of its kind in putting people of different races and different thought processes, different value systems onto their channel. But then they try to mold all that into something that is palatable for a middle of the road viewer, and that's not going to work. You either going to be a platform for certain views. If you're going to utilize certain people, you're going to have to show that you value their views and value their the things that they value. If you're not, then you just faking the funk, and you're going to have these clashes are going to continue to occur throughout time that you're having that you're trying to do business with these people.
Yeah, and that's what Amin said in the specifically when he talked about on Dan Le Batard's show how ESPN is huge for and known for having their certain viewpoints, and instead of strategically planning for putting diverse candidates and putting diverse people in the right areas where they can actually flourish, they just pretty much go where the crowd is or the public is taking them per se, and they just put in someone just to calm the noise. Like that's not actually to resolve the diversity issues that take place within that company. So, so for you to mention that, like that's definitely something that us as Black analysts, journalists, you name it, we have to continue to be cognizant of that because unfortunately, it's not like that it's like that at more than just ESPN. Other big thing companies have that too.
Yeah, you gotta look at the records. Let's go ahead.
No, I was going to say that it's just that ESPN doesn't know how to cover theirs up. I mean, Jamil Hill's right. She's been like this for. She got criticized for this. Her name is Kayla Johnson. Got criticized for this.
Yeah, the young lady who shared Kayla Johnson shared the video that was this all stemmed from like a video that was recorded off air while Nichols was in the bubble down in Florida last year, but she was speaking to the LeBron James associate through like a process like we're doing now, on StreamYard.
Right.
But it was available through the servers at ESPN. So people who work for ESPN were able to pick up the video, and it got passed around. A lot of people apparently passed it around, but Kayla Johnson was the only person who passed it actually to the person who was spoken of, Maria Taylor, and because of that, she got punished, like suspended for a couple of weeks, and then downgraded in her assignments for the company and stuff. And she's since left the company. Right. And so people say she's left for a better opportunity. So good for her. But like Josh, like you say, it's all these companies have issues with hiring. They have issues with keeping diverse staffing and all that. They definitely have problems with keeping Black people and women and other races in positions of authority. And that's something that, again, that you could look at in this situation, where who are these people, who are the higher ups who are looking down on this situation, and what are their values, and what were they thinking about? One thing that that we should keep in mind about Nichols, and a lot of people are turning her into a Karen of sports journalism now. Whatever that is, however we want to frame her now. She's got to deal with that, but she recognized in the quotes that come from her leaked up for the leaked video and audio, she recognized that the people who are in ESPN calling the shots, they're they're Trump supporters and they're conservatives and they're these type of people who their values and their value systems are at odds with a lot of the people who they hire. So again, like I said, that's just something that naturally is going to create problems and create things that we see in this situation, and a network like ESPN being really too big to keep these type of secrets. So I think they really need to get themselves right and not be so fake about what they're doing, and try to spread the wealth in regards to who's in control, who's calling shots, and who's really getting opportunities at their on all their platforms, online, television, radio, whatever, because they're gonna. I think the negative effect in the end is going to start with them likely losing a talent like Maria Taylor, and the people who want to back her up, much like we saw with Jamel Hill and other talents, Dan Lebatard and other talents before Maria, is an exodus, a steadying exodus of viewers and people who just can't stand looking at that channel anymore. And if probably wouldn't look at it at all if they didn't have so much of a grip on the live events. So we gonna look at it tonight, and there may be some awkward moments between Maria Taylor and the crew up there, and Jalen Rose might say something kind of slick without saying something. It's like I said, it's gonna be something that hangs over this whole proceedings of this finals. And if that's what ESPN wants to be known for, I think I don't think that's the right way to go.
I mean, Jalen Rose's daughter already came out and went ham on Rachel Nichols.
Yeah, she did.
Video, yeah. So you already know that he's going to be coming some way, somehow, whether it's already coming from the Rose family. So if it doesn't come from Jalen, at least it came from a representative. And and I guess the thing I kind of real briefly want to highlight is the fact that even though this is very unfortunate that Maria Taylor had to go through this unfortunate situation created an opportunity for another real upcoming thriving journalist in Malika Andrews to take over that sideline reporting gig. And that's huge for her, because especially with how great of a journalist and reporter she is. And there's already people already arguing that she's probably even better than Rachel Nichols, and that's a whole other story. But having that type of diverse representation throughout these NBA finals really could be something positive that can come out of this when you talk about Black women taking over the main positions and stages of big events. That's huge, and I believe Malika's going to kill it. I'm looking forward to seeing what she does, how she does her job effectively, working with Maria Taylor and the crew throughout this entire NBA Finals.
I think dating back to last year, we've been able to see a lot of what Malika can do on that big time stage. She did a lot of good work in the bubble, and she provided a lot of she sort of walks that line of commentary and news reporting. She's another person who came up through newspapers and everyday reporting. So she knows how to do that, but she's not afraid to put herself out there in certain ways. Like she was, sort of talk about her thoughts about certain things that were going on last year with the boycott and everything and bubble. But since then she's really she's really become at home on that NBA Countdown crew and on Sports Center and everything. So she's another ascendant talent like Maria Taylor. And hopefully they do right by her and not alienate her in another year or two and have her, wanting to get out the door. So it's on ESPN, man. They should know better. They should know what it takes to maintain a staff, but that is right for them. But at the same time, we keep seeing these stories and hearing these tales from Black people and other people who've been there where they've been treated less than satisfactory. So I don't know. It's the problem. It's the problem with there's a lot of issues with corporate media, man. I've been involved in it. I think we've all been involved in it in some ways, and it's part of the reason why I'm here trying to do something else. So it's like our options are few for people like us in this business, and before I get to rambling on that end, I'm gonna take it to my phone and see that a big bit of news is crossed on the push notification system on ESPN.
I knew Drew was up.
Yeah,
I gotta say something about this whole thing before we get into that.
Go ahead, Chris, because I was gonna take it into the game stuff. So
Chris's hot takes, I love it.
Let it be known.
First of all, man, like I was telling Drew in the pre-show, a lot of this is built off of not so much hearsay, because at a certain point, hearsay is the truth of enough. I think if enough people are saying the exact same thing, in this case, you're getting the truth. But like the pitter patter around it and and then there's like reports came out that the Deadspin reporting was suspect, and that, like, for me, who's just passing through on these headlines, that threw the whole story into question. So I really wish that people would verify. Like we all know, verify these things. Secondly,
well, right quick, Chris. I think the issue with the Deadspin thing is that from how I view it is that the old you have to know about the old Deadspin compared to the new Deadspin.
That's a good point.
And the changes that occurred with that website pretty much the year prior to what happened last year with the COVID and stuff. In the year plus, without going too deep into that, the whole site changed and the whole staffing changed, and new people from who Deadspin, Tommy Craggs and all those guys over there, who was kind of raised that website up to a certain degree. They were gone, and it was new people in the staffing, complete new staff. Anyway, I think what they were trying to do was some old Deadspin shit, and be like, oh, we got ESPN on some funny shit. Let's put them on blast without the reporting skill of the guys who were there before. And they just put that story out without looking. I think the old Deadspin would have put that same story out initially, but they would have looked deeper into the situation, and they would have found out. They'd have had the story that the New York Times reported this week. They'd have had it last year, even if it took them another couple weeks or another couple months of reporting. They would have had that story last year. But the folks who are there, and no disrespect to those who are there at Deadspin now, because there are some good people there, but they just didn't look deep enough into the story. There was and this again too. If you look at the Levitar video that I recommended, Levitar brings up this point is that we haven't really paid enough attention to the whole issue of privacy.
I wasn't going to get into that necessarily.
I know, but I'm saying again. That's what I'm saying. This stuff is a lot involved in this, but we haven't, as a whole. I'm not talking about just this show, but as a whole, we haven't paid enough attention to privacy, and that's essentially what Deadspin was focused on last year. when they released that story. They were focused more strictly on the privacy thing, and they didn't focus on the the racial stuff and the potential, all this internet scene bigotry stuff that's going on with ESPN. But and I my man, our man Evan Moore said this pretty succinctly on Twitter, is that also remember that old Deadspin staff was pretty white bread. So you want to talk about who's running things and who's controlling transmitting information. That that old Deadspin staff wasn't very diverse at all, and so take that for what it's worth.
I was just going to say, like, there's a pronounced gap between that you hear, especially Black women and women of color talk about in terms of advancing that cause in general, and then in specific spaces like this, like sports media and media in general. So it's just another instance of that here. With the Rachel Nichols, Maria Taylor situation. Like, I didn't really believe when I heard it was like when people talk about womanism, like that was specifically Black feminism, since they weren't involved in feminism when it really started. And I, as a dude, was just like, that doesn't seem to make sense to me, at least, like, why would you need to separate these two things? Why wouldn't the cause be like combined? And then you see why in this case, especially. And that was annoying outside of anything else, I think, because I had a lot of respect for Rachel Nichols. Like Drew said, I'm disappointed. She was always stumping for the WNBA, so much so that this asshole channel on YouTube that always tries to cut down the idea that they deserve more money kept highlighting her supposedly saying things on the jump that were incorrect. And so I like the fact that she was putting herself out there when she had this platform for that cause, which benefits Black women and women of color disproportionately, getting more money for their jobs. So it's disappointing, especially in that regard, because you figure that you have that position, you're trying to big up everybody instead of holding your spot. But a lot of the stuff that we went over, I think, already belies that point at a place like ESPN and a place like where media is now, where you're trying to build an individual brand rather than do the job well. Yeah. And I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I see the only reason that exists is because there are so many voices and places to go. So you have to kind of make a billboard of yourself. And in some cases, like with our man Josh, like, I respect the hell out of Josh. He's been making himself that dude since we had those games. Just like I said, Josh walk up and talk to Kobe White, which I could never have done. I can't do that. So that's part of what he's done and has done so well. But the difference, I think, is that Josh also writes his ass off and works his ass off at the technical side. And there's a lot of idea that you build the brand and that's what's going to get you there rather than the quality of work. And so I think this is a part of that where Rachel Nichols has done the work, but the brand that she's built felt threatened. And not only did it feel threatened, it felt threatened by a Black coworker, a Black woman coworker. And I think on some level that was unacceptable. There's other people, one in particular who I'm thinking of in Holly Rowe, who has built this brand as like the go-to WNBA person at ESPN. And I'm not saying that this would come up, but it's another thing where you have a danger of somebody who has that spot and wouldn't want to lose that spot. Yeah. Not saying that Holly's done that or would do that, but it's just, I think it gets dangerous when you have this, like, you put this person up here and make them the person, they're going to hesitate and not want to lose that spot as the person.
I'm glad you brought that up. I know we got to, transition to the next conversation because of this game, but on Dan Le Batard's show that Kyle briefly mentioned, that was brought up, especially when you talk about Woj. Like, Amin talked about Woj and how, for the most part, they make Woj as this big dude that's be breaking these stories, but there's brothers like us and women like us that doing his job way
in
better.
particular,
Just tagging names. Like,
in particular, in this story, you have the mention of Woj in a meeting calling Rachel Nichols a bad teammate.
Right.
And, Amina Hassan and minces no words in saying that was a laugher coming. That was a laugher coming for Woj.
Really?
That Woj just cut many people off at the knees, including black reporters, in order to get to his position as the guy in the breaking news reporter in the NBA and pretty much the guy who was centered. The NBA coverage is centered around in ESPN. And it goes to your point again, Chris, about how territorial beats are and concentrations are in sports media. When you get to this level, it could mean the difference. It could mean the difference of millions of dollars on a contract. If you become that person at ESPN who is known for NBA coverage, who is the studio person for NBA or NFL or whatever, and that makes you less likely to be put to the side when the next new thing comes along. And that's exactly what Rachel Nichols has been trying to fight. But the problem is she doesn't like so many other people in her position. You become so your tunnel vision is put on, and you have your tunnel vision and the way that you think about things. It comes back to this sort of lizard brain thinking that we all have with black folks, where it's like, I can't lose a job to this person. They're not qualified. They're only here because of this and that and this and that, and that's not the case. Whenever you look at a black person, especially a black woman, at the level rising to the level that Maria Taylor's looked at, you have to know that they have overcome at least 2 or 3 times the bullshit that you have overcome to get to that same spot. Especially a woman like Rachel Nichols, who, as talented as she is, she comes from money, and she was raised by money, and she married into more money, and her people have allowed her to come at this journalism thing in a way that very few people have been able to. So, for her to look at Maria, who has certainly worked hard to get what she got, and just think that, she was owed something, I'm sort of getting off. Like, I want to sort of, I'm stuttering here now, but it's a little emotional, because I think every black person who's in media at some point realizes these things, and they recognize these situations where you feel you are questioning your value and your worth, and against these greater odds that are always out there for you to advance. And it's painful for a lot of us. That's why I think this story has gotten the traction that it's gotten, and the emotions have surfaced that have surfaced. But anyway, we're not going to leave y'all on that tip. Of course, there is the game tonight. There's the series, and the big news that I was alluding to a little bit earlier, that came across my ESPN push notification, is that Giannis Antetokounmpo will be playing in Game 1, and so he's going to tough it out. He has the knee issue, that horrible bend of the knee that occurred late in that Atlanta series, and he's gonna play. I mean, do we think that's the smart thing? Do we think is it just the him being tough and being ultra competitive, or is it him risking maybe the entire the entire series for this team in a game that, if you lose game one, you still got 6 to go. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Nah, because allegedly there was no structural damage done to his knee with that hyperextension. I don't look at this as him or the team making the wrong move. This is the finals, man. Nothing is promised to any of these teams. That being said, the Nets, if healthy, look to be in the same position next year, maybe the year after that. So you got to play, man. This is something that he's been gunning for a while. I think he's made comments saying that he doesn't want to be in the conversation for the best player in the game. He's not worried about his regular season MVPs. He needs that trophy to kind of validate what he's already accomplished in his career. So, nah, man, I'm glad that he's playing. I think that he is right to try to tough it out and try to play. This isn't the KD situation where, you definitely on kind of borrowed time with that injury that he had and putting your career at risk. I don't think that this is the same thing. So, more power to him for trying to gut it out.
Hey, Phoenix, as the Bucks cleared out Atlanta and everything, and this series became what it is, and we know both these teams to get in the series. The betting odds have pretty much been all in favor of Phoenix. Are we agreeing with that? Do we think that Phoenix is the prohibitive favorite in this series?
Not prohibitive, not with Giannis back. And the supporting cast really showed what they could do in his absence.
Yeah.
Because the Suns have been, with some bursts from campaign. They've been a unit, but it's very much so led by Chris Paul and Devin Booker. If either one of those guys has an off night, it's tough for Phoenix to win. If either one of those guys is out, it's near impossible for Phoenix to win. Now the Bucks, albeit with a Trae Young-less Atlanta, I think they still showed a lot more cohesion than Atlanta did. That game, I believe it was game 5. I was at the casino and it was on the TV. But the way the Bucks got out and maintained that lead to halftime and throughout the game, with a lot of fast breaks and forcing turnovers, says a lot about them, and that's something that they can take with them into this final series, no matter what level of health Giannis is at. You obviously can't play Bobby Portis 35 or 36 minutes a night, and necessarily with him being one of your top 2 options, and expect to do incredibly well. But I think what they showed in those 2 games where they didn't have Giannis was important for their confidence as a team, and a new wrinkle for Phoenix to see that they can get things done without the one of the 2 or 3 best players in the game.
Josh, do you think we're gonna see sort of a different game, or more stationary, or more maybe more of that interior game that a lot of people would like to see from Giannis? Given that he's gonna be a little gimpy, maybe it won't be as much of the transition of the ability to create and transition from him, at least at the beginning of the series. Do you see that sort of effect happening, or any type of other effect in the way that these games, this early games are going to be played?
Yeah, I do. And just because of that, this is why I think Milwaukee shouldn't have rushed him back, even though I am supportive of, obviously, what Drew mentioned, that the star players can play, let them play. At the same time, though, because of the success, like Chris mentioned, from the second unit and the surrounding stars that were there, and how in some way they're playing better offensively with Giannis on the bench, and because Phoenix Suns is a slow down team and a half-court offensive ran team, you want to beat them in the transition game, which the Bucks have if you leave Drew Holiday as one of your main point guards that can push the ball effectively up and down the court.
And force some turnovers.
And with limited turnovers. So I think you take away that game plan that you could use potentially, especially in the beginning of this series to get an edge per se, or better position yourself for an edge against the Suns by leaving Giannis in a half court where no matter what, Giannis is going to be Giannis, but it takes away and in some ways limits how the Bucks can effectively run an offense, especially if Giannis is forced to be in a paint or to do things where if he feels like he's fully healthy, he's going to go full speed, but you may not get the actual solution or resolution that you would think. So I think in ways they might cut themselves short of what that offense really could look like because they're forcing Giannis back into this lineup where even though he is dominant of a player, it's not like he's your closer. It's not like he's your automatic go-to when the game gets tight, which is what Phoenix has in Devin Booker and Chris Paul in those tight half-game moments. You got to combat that with something similar, which you already have, but you're limiting that option with Giannis bringing him on the court.
See, I don't think I'm gonna push back on that a little bit. You make great points, but I don't think that they put Giannis in a position where he's gonna have to just be a back to the basket type player because that's not his game. Yes, you want him close to the basket, but it's about how he's getting there. He's not gonna back you down, hit you with a turnaround jump shot or up and unders. He's getting to the basket from the perimeter, driving the ball hard into the paint. So I don't think they put him in a position where he's not going to be effective. And to your point, Josh, even more so than offensively, what Giannis allows the Bucks to do from a defensive standpoint against a team that wants to hit that mid-range, they want Brook Lopez to drop way back into the paint to try to prevent a lob to Aiden. Now you can't do that if Giannis is there. He has the range and the athleticism to both kind of sink back a little bit if he's getting caught up on the screen, but also be able to recover with his length and contest the jumper from Paul, contest the jumper from Devin Booker. It just gives them so much more versatility. You have three solid defenders now, whereas if Giannis doesn't play, you're down one. You know, you can only put Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton on so many people. They can only guard for so long. You had that third defender, a long athletic defender that we know Giannis to be. And this series, it changes. It changes a little bit.
I was gonna ask what were your thoughts on defensively, how they were gonna, they defend the pick and roll, defend the mid range attack. That Phoenix, you sort of gave a bit of that already, but yeah,
you can't drop like Coach Budenholzer. He can't give up a game one like he did against the Nets, like he did against Atlanta, where you just concede the mid range. I mean, you concede the 3-point shot or the mid range. I mean, like he did with Durant. You got to abandon that drop. You got to play Brook Lopez up, or you have to switch your screens. You got to do something because exactly what you want to give up with your base defense and that drop coverage is exactly how Booker and Paul want to beat you. So they got to find a different route. They gotta stick to the adaptability that they've shown in the playoffs at times.
That's interesting. You mentioned too the way that they've approached starting the last two series. I think in both of those series, especially the Brooklyn series too, they sort of let themselves be weak in certain ways too early in the series by over relying on their perimeter and on the offensive side, by over relying on their perimeter shots, and even they would basically overshoot from 3-point range, even if it wasn't working for them. They was just trying to force that shot, and then they realized that they had to switch things up and adjust better going through each series, and they finished strong enough. But I could definitely see how against the Suns, you don't want to, have that same approach, and you want to try to take one of these games definitely. And yeah, this is the thing. They definitely want to take one of these games in Phoenix. I don't think they would want to go back home 0-2, but they also probably have the confidence to say, we can easily make it a 2-2 series after 4 if we drop these first two. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's gonna be some interesting chess matches. And just one last point, in the finals, I think they're getting an extra day off between games now, whereas before it's like a day off game. So
yeah, you'll get. I think this game 2 was Thursday. Then I have game 3 on Sunday. So it'll be a couple. They'll have another break like that later in the series too. I think between 5 and 6.
Yeah. So however Giannis's knee reacts, he'll get a little bit more time, whereas he wouldn't have, in the earlier rounds.
Yeah, definitely.
Strong steroids. Them steroid shots, boy. You got to make sure you good.
I was gonna say my man's on the cortisone for real.
Right.
And after the season, he'll go get one of those Kobe spinner, spinner treatments in Germany or something. But right quick though, we just getting past 8. We gonna pack it up. We'll get back sort of now, if not later this week, early next week, to check back on the series definitely. And but right now, what's your thoughts on? What's your early pick right now? What's your what do you got? How you got the series played out?
I can't believe I'm saying this, man, because I think Monty Williams is a better coach. I think that Phoenix has a deeper team, but something about Milwaukee, man. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm gonna go Milwaukee. It'd be tough to win a game 7 in Phoenix. Give me Milwaukee in 7, man.
Right quick, Dan Meehan. Thanks for the comment. Do you think it was Giannis's call? I would say, yeah. I would say it's his call. Yeah, it's. This is not the time after this whole year where it's been about placating Giannis and making him feel comfortable with the future of the franchise. You don't at this point in the season say, "No, big man, we got it." Let him do. If he wants to be the hero, let him be the hero. That's what he's there for. So, but anyway, Drew, you say Milwaukee is 7, or
yeah, I can't believe it, man. But yeah, I mean, I was talking about Chris Middleton before the season. How Milwaukee has 1 number 1 and 2 number 3s. So now I'm coming full circle, man.
Yeah, they're a better team than you thought. I would say than most of us thought they were.
Yeah,
at the beginning of the season. So, especially Middleton. It's like Middleton really. We talk about potential MVPs in the series. Middleton really can be MVP in the series.
Yeah. He does have his moments where he'll disappear a little bit, but it's different now. It's different now, man. He shows up in a different way, man.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I'll just say it right quick. I think I'm sort of going with my heart as much as anything. But if I was to go purely with my brain, or if I was to put some money down, I would say Phoenix is 6. But my heart is telling me Milwaukee and 7.
I think, from my perspective, I think the Suns are better all around. They have a better coach. I don't know if they have a better coaching staff all the way through, but they definitely have a better head coach. Chris Paul is probably the best. I think in this situation, especially considering Giannis isn't at 100 or say 90%, like the best you could probably be is 90% at this time in the season for anybody.
Good point.
I think Chris Paul is the best player on the floor, just with his experience, his guile, his ability to cause headaches for the other team, his difficulty to defend him is going to be a great matchup between him and Holiday. That might be worth it watching in itself. But he's hungry, and Devin Booker has shown that he's not just a December scoring champ. He's hitting shots when it counts. Like Chuck always says, those guys you hear from in December and January are all quiet in May and June, and Devin Booker has been very far from quiet. So the smart money says
his first playoff, man. This guy one of the great first playoff runs ever.
I mean, he really used that bubble run, I think, as a test, like a dry run almost. For what the playoffs might feel like, because it wasn't necessarily a playoff atmosphere, but I think just it was so weird and so difficult to focus. It just seems like he used that as like something that he could draw from
Yeah.
Like, we hit these shots in this situation. We hit that game winner. We won all our games. It just seems like he took that and completely ran with it. But you're right, Kyle. It still is his first playoffs. For him to be performing the way he has is solid. So as much as I want to say Bobby Portis Finals MVP, to validate my man from the Cove Lounge all those years ago who was dying because Bobby Portis was not getting in the game, I think his Suns in 6. I think this is going to be a key game. Sorry, that's an understatement. Game 1's always a key game. I think if Giannis looks healthy, then it could go 7 games. If he doesn't, it might be Suns in 5.
Josh,
it's gonna hinge on that. Yeah.
Just side note, random, Josh, before you get your point. I can't help. I don't know if y'all got the same feeling as Bulls fans or former Bulls fans. I know how y'all feel about the organization, but
I'm an observer. I'm not a fan.
I can't help but to watch Devin Booker and just feel like that could be Zach LaVine, man, in another dimension. Different roster.
But look, if you do 1.5 good moves, it could be next year. Yeah. The Suns, look at the Suns won last year.
You're right. You're right. 8 games in the bubble. 8 games in the bubble.
Yeah, that's true.
And Chris Paul later.
Right. Just you never know what the Bulls can supposedly get themselves into because you just never know nowadays. So Zach LaVine being in doing his thing with the Olympics, and Vooch being Vooch, you never know what could happen next year.
But Josh, before you make your pick, I just want to, as far as Portis go, I just want Portis to enjoy the moment. I want him to keep his eyes open and take it all in.
Well, they're gonna be open.
He's gonna be too hyped to do that. He's gonna be too hyped to do that. You're gonna be 2 in the games. He's like too hyped to just take it in like that. You're gonna come out swinging.
Take every inch of pupil and take it all in.
That's just how Bobby plays the game, man. And to talk to him about some of that, was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. So I obviously want Bobby to, be successful and to win at the highest level he can. And obviously he has that prime opportunity to do that. So if he does, I will not be mad. But Giannis can wait another year because it's a CP3 time. It's CP3 and CP3 that we trust. I'd have the Suns win this thing in 7. Especially because they got the home court advantage. And not to mention at the same time, like you guys said earlier, better head coaching. I think they do have a deeper roster. And I will say, we talked about, the matchup with, Chris Paul guarding and Chris Paul and Drew Holiday going back and forth. We know PJ Tucker is probably going to go at it with Devin Booker, right? Like, we know there's going to be some pretty prime matches to look out for. But the X factor of this is for this series, especially for the Suns, to me personally, is the man that's about to get maxed out next year in Mikal Bridges. He's shown up in these playoffs on both ends of the floor. And as long as he can continue to guard and play well defensively and shoot that 3, I don't think Milwaukee got a chance. I don't think Milwaukee has anything to stop that. So
he's a very versatile player. So
yes,
he could be a nice X factor in the series. Yeah.
And to your point, your earlier point about campaign, not being too far fetched for him to win MVP. Anybody that listened to that and was like, roll their eyes. But hear me out. You got a point because the stranger thing has happened. No shade to Andre Iguodala, but for that man to be
that was one of the deepest travesties
in the series with LeBron and Curry and Clay. I mean, stranger things happen.
Yeah, I got you.
Is he from Peoria or Springfield? I think he's from Springfield. He won because he came from Springfield. That's why.
If that's the reason, then
it was like Cali, Ohio. Nah, let's go with Springfield. Let's go with the capital of Springfield.
I'll give it up for Illinois for getting that award then, but he still shouldn't have won it.
Crazy, man.
LeBron was the best player on the floor. He was.
It's funny too because apparently, U of I just got a kid from LeBron's old school. It was a
okay. St. Vincent, same area.
Yeah, so that's it.
Let's lose Kofi though.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's up with that, man.
You got to replace all the portal transfers.
Yeah,
my man's going to Kentucky. You know who's following where his coaches are going.
Just give that kid a Raising Cane's sponsorship or whatever. What's started down there in Champaign? What was it? Jimmy John's or something?
Jimmy John's, yeah.
Yeah, just give him a Jimmy John's.
Don't do that. Don't do that to him. Trash ass sandwich, man. People hate on Subway like, oh, Subway smells bad. Subway got this and that.
You know where their tuna come from.
That's unfortunately we have to overrate the ability to know where tuna comes from now because of Southern. Oh, that's now these fools letting off fireworks. I had to get off.
Kyle got tired. He said, "I'm done.
I'm dead. I ain't gonna be able to enjoy this game because these damn fireworks.
Man, they ain't stopped till about 2 o'clock in the morning on my block, man. I swear they was throwing them at my window. It sounded like, man.
See, I
started 10 in the morning too.
See, that's I had to test my freedom. They throw it at my window, man.
Oh.
Nah, let me stop, man. But I'll say right quick though, the last thing going off of Josh pick, it would be, and I'm not one of those. I know a lot of people who hate Chris Paul. I'm not.
That's what I was gonna say. Josh loves Chris Paul, and I'm like, that's how you know we don't root for Western Conference teams because them cats are like, I don't want to see that dude win.
Point God for a reason.
That man is an asshole, bro.
If Paul wins it, Pat Bev gonna be breaking the TV somewhere as soon as soon as CP get his hand on the Larry O'Brien. But at the same time, the story between him and Monty Williams is a pretty great story. Seeing where they came from 10 years ago, both sort of floundering in New Orleans, and now for them to be back together and on the verge of a championship. And, CB3, quite frankly, is one of the top 5 point guards of all time. For him to get to the conclusion to be able to finally wrap up his legacy with a title would be very meaningful. So I'm not against that, even though I'm sort of rooting for Milwaukee. I'm not. I'm just being on record as saying I'm not against CP3. Bringing it all home. As it were.
Yeah, that clip they had of Monty Williams and CP3 that was special, man. When they wrapped up the series and them two kind of embracing, and he basically telling CP3 to come on, just let the emotions come out. Basically, like you made it, you're here now. That was something to see.
And with everything that Monty's been through personally, he's definitely a guy who people root for. So,
absolutely.
It would be great. And another brother winning the title. Again.
Yep, yes, sir.
It don't hurt to listen to black folks every now and then. Wink, wink, ESPN. I'll leave it at that. But anyway, we're gonna go off air here, enjoy this game. Thanks to everybody who's watched us tonight and checked in and everything, and keep on following us, watching everything. Like I said, I'm gonna try to add a little extra something on the audio version of this on Anchor.fm, and just keep rocking with us. We'll be back at some point in this series with another report and give our thoughts on how this series is playing out. Again, Drew, we're on record. Drew has the Bucks in 7. I have the Bucks in 7. Josh has the Suns. Did you say the game?
7.
And Chris has.
I'll take Suns in 6.
Suns in 6. Okay, so we'll see how what we're getting closer to in a couple games. But as of now, keep your eye on the sparrow, keep your eye on the ball, and keep bouncing, and don't take nothing for granted out here, man. Keep like I say, keep pushing. And definitely don't, like I said, don't ever, underscore. I would say don't ever underplay what it takes for black folks to get where they got to go, especially black sisters. So always keep that in mind. And I will leave you with that, Jude, as we head out. Peace.